Golf Channel, the fact these are very strenuous weeks for these guys, and to, put them into the same, within 1 week of each other, that's a lot of mental focus that really comes into play. You wonder if that's something that these guys like, the fact that they have to play a major, take a week off, and then another major.
Like calling 2 plays in the huddle, right? I mean, when you're in a hurry-up defense, but in golf, it doesn't necessarily work that way. You usually spend about 2-3 weeks gearing up for a major championship, and in this case, you've had 1 down week in between, basically, before you get right back into the soup.
So, Gil, how are the players, do they like the fact that this thing is crept right up on the British, or is this something obviously with the Olympics, they moved this thing up, but are they fans of this just 1 week after the British?
I need a nap, guys. Are you talking about doing all this, this condensed schedule? And these guys have made me tired. I need to sit down and lie down here for a few minutes. You're kind of getting me on my soapbox here pretty early in the show here. Yes and no. I think for these guys, especially in the men's side, they're creatures of comfort and of habit. So they're used to schedules being certain ways. They're independent contractors. They do things on their own. They're kind of not, beholden to anybody or any one thing. So when things kind of get switched around, you hear some of the complaints start to come out from golfers. And look, I'm in the business, and these guys are great to work with for the most part. But but that being said, I mean, professional golfers, especially on the men's side, they can complain with the best of them about almost anything. And so I think some of that you're hearing just from that standpoint of complaining, how much it actually has to do, with tiredness and the effect on their body and mental. Look, let's look at the other sports for a second, right? I mean, the NBA, playing, all these games, from November to April, then going into playoffs. Major League Baseball, well, we have 162 regular season games in a 6-month period. The NFL runs, you're pretty much working every day, except for one maybe off day, non-contact, maybe 2. They get going in the regular season. So every other sport deals with this, and that's part of the sport. But golf, not being kind of the team aspect to it, and these guys, you kind of hear the belly aching more than other sports. I think that'll play a part a little bit this week. I think maybe look for some of the guys with the better attitudes and who haven't been complaining about the schedule and about the Olympics, et cetera. Maybe to do a little better than the others. Being in good mood and good attitude definitely works to your advantage in these major championships.
So give us your first impressions on the day so far, where some of the bigger names are struggling.
Not a big surprise. The one surprise, I guess, I thought scoring would be a little better in the morning, just because from all reports there at Baltusrol, people thought that maybe you'd have a few guys get close to another 63 this morning with good conditions, humid weather. That means there's moisture in the ground and in the greens they can hold, and are somewhat receptive. But the Baltusrol, it's a tough golf course to score on. Even though we've had a few 63s shot up there twice in the U.S. Open by Nicklaus and Weisskopf in 1980, and I think in the PGA Thomas Bjorn had one in 2005. But it's tough in the sense that these guys where they score these par fives, and at Baltusrol you only have 2 par fives, and they don't come to the last 2 holes, 17 and 18. It's a very strange where you kind of have to plod along methodically there the first 16 holes before you get 2 really good cracks at birdies to close out. And there's something psychological about that. You have to wait for your 2 good scoring chances till the very end. But scoring wise, some of these guys, Rory McIlroy, he could shoot 65, or he can shoot 74 like he did this morning, and it wouldn't necessarily surprise me. I think, Phil, it's a lot of people thought that he would be able to come right off that Open and playing so well and just jump right back on that horse and continue to ride it. It's tough. It's tough to carry momentum over event to event, especially in major championships. But still, he was 4 over and looking dead to the wind, and winds up 3 under in his last 7 holes, and he's kind of right back in it there. 1 over 71 is definitely in it. And Jason Day, obviously, is the guy you have to look at. 68, and I think and here's a guy who it seems like there's always something wrong with Jason, right? It always seems like he's got a little nick or a little under the weather or something. It's constant, and it's been that way through his entire career. Whether or not he's just one of those guys who likes to tell everybody what's going on, and every little paper cut is a huge issue. I don't know, but the fact is, I think in this instance, though, however, it was almost a benefit for him not to come in until later in the week, because I think, guys, what that does is, and I'm a big believer in being over prepared. It can lead you to being over par. Basically, it's these guys that come into places and play in these major championships, come in Saturday or Sunday before and play the golf course, 3, 4, 5 times. I think that's overkill, and the reason is because these guys are the best in the world, and it doesn't take them that long to figure out a golf course, and it takes them out of the routine. And like I said, these guys are creatures of habit and comfort, and their routine is coming in on a regular PGA Tour event on a Tuesday, and maybe playing some that afternoon, or not, playing a program the next day, and then teeing it up on Thursday. And I think Jason Day, having had played last week and taking a couple of days off and just coming right in and playing a practice on yesterday, I think that I really think that's an advantage of his this week, and opens with 68, and he's world number 1 for a reason. He's played better than anybody else the last 12 months, and I would expect him, especially the conditions are like this, because it favors a guy like Jason. You hit the ball long and high, and if you have soft conditions like this, it's right up his alley. So I would be shocked if he's not in the mix come Sunday afternoon.
Gil Capps is with us. We're talking PGA Championship. And, Gil, you did answer my question that I was going to ask you about Phil, because I see that those bogeys must have gone off of 10 and then finished up on the front 9, because he finished with 3 birdies to get to that score of +1 and a 71. Another name, Jimmy Walker, the American, has the lead right now, but there's a lot of names, Gil. Sergio Garcia is one. Lee Westwood is one. You know the group of the people that they call the best player never to win a major. Of those guys, who do you see having the most success at the PGA this week?
It would seem to me Sergio would have a pretty good shot. Sergio's really played well here during the summer months, and got a win back in Texas in the spring. And a ball striker's golf course. This is a place where Sergio, tee to green, he's one of the best guys in golf. And I think Baltusrol is a type of golf course that would favor Sergio Garcia. And one of the things too, when I look at weeks like this, guys, when it's so hot and humid, and look at that way, a lot of places in the summer in the United States, right? But these particular weeks when you get heat indices up where they are at Baltusrol, look back in history, and it's mostly the Americans who win those championships, or guys who've grown up or played extensively in warm weather climates, kind of like a Sergio Garcia, or like a lot of the South Africans. So I think it'll be right up Sergio's alley. The one guy that I look down at in the morning wave, who's at 70, so a good solid score to start off the week with, would be a guy like Bill Haas. And he's an American guy, with being a South Carolinian, he's not going to bother him. But a guy who's not really played that well in major championships, until, the Open 2 weeks ago, where he's in the next class group, and obviously doesn't stand a chance with Phil and way Hendrick Stenson played on that final round. But maybe that, showing the little signs of life. I like guys who haven't kind of peaked, but have shown some signs of life, and maybe that's what Bill Haas needed, that experience 2 weeks ago, and he could, maybe parlay that into a good week here, or a win in a major championship, which would not surprise anybody.
Gil, you mentioned the setup of the course only with a few par fives on it, and is there something that we should look for, say a pivotal hole or a place that, if a guy gets past that unscathed and maybe he's home free, is there a certain part of the golf course that we should pay particular attention to?
You got a couple of really long par fours those guys have got to get through there around the middle of the round. It's it's a fairly tough start to. One is a pretty difficult hole. I think as you get toward the middle of the incoming 9, you have a few more scoring opportunities. And with those, look, with those 2 par 5s to end with, even though 17 really isn't traditionally one that's going to be reached into by hardly anybody. It leads scoring opportunities and chances where you can have swings. So, you finish 16 and get to 17, and even like a 2-shot lead or a 3-shot lead may not, be enough. Because a lot can happen on par 5 for these guys like their opportunities and like to take advantage of them.
Talking with Gil Capps, Golf Channel here, and of course the PGA underway a little earlier than normal, but still we're hoping. And by the way, it's in Jersey. It's up the about 2-3 hours from here, Peter.
About that, depending on traffic.
All right, so it's if you're planning on making the drive up there, it's about 2.5-3 hours up the road here. One guy that we talked about this before you came on, Gil, Rickie Fowler. It seems that he was getting so close in so many tournaments. How would you kind of surmise, over the last, year or so? Because he seemed like he was right there, and now recently he seems like he is just not in that same spot. What do you see from him since he was so hot? He didn't win anything, but he was so close so many times.
Rickie there, right at the start of the year, he went overseas, and he was, all of a sudden we were, we get in golf, we get in these phases where some guy plays well for a month or two, all of a sudden now he's the next big thing, and then he's now the big 3 becomes the big 4, the big 4 becomes the big 5, and maybe he doesn't play well, and now it's back down to the big 3. Rickie was the guy whose name got mentioned there at the start of the year, and he's kind of struggled to keep that going. Look, golf is a hard sport to stay hungry playing it in this day and age with the deals these guys have, as much money as they make. It's just human nature, and not to say that I can't speak for Rickie personally, and not to say that's happened to him, but it's happened to a lot of guys, and then the pressure these guys can put on themselves, and the pressure they feel to maybe keep up with the Joneses, especially guy. He goes back kind of to Jordan Spieth, maybe what's happened to him a little bit. The fact that he had such a great year last year, and how does he live up to that? I mean, he may never be able to repeat that year the rest of his career, and that's going to be tough for him going forward. And then you look, well, how do I get to that plateau again? And how do I get to that plateau when maybe there are a few other guys around me who have tools in their bag that I don't, like a Jason Day or Dustin Johnson, who are driving the ball 40 yards past them. When those guys are on their A games, Jordan's A game probably doesn't match their A games. And so I think some of that, may be the same with Rickie, but, it was a good sign for him, with a 68, and he's one of these guys that's going to the Olympics in 2 weeks, and I think it would, it would be a very big deal, if Rickie were to play well down there at the Olympics. We've said a lot about, the things that Rickie Fowler brings to the game of golf, and the way kids identify with him, and it's, we can all talk all about how marketing doesn't matter, this and that, but it does, especially a guy like Rickie could play well and win major championships and win, Olympic medals. It would be a huge boost for the sport, more so than almost any other player, besides maybe a Tiger Woods coming back and winning.
Jimmy Walker in the lead, Rickie Fowler 2 under today, and Gil Capps from the Golf Channel here as the PGA Championship is underway. Gil, it's always a pleasure to pick your brain on the golf.
Hey, always a pleasure to talk with you guys. I'm glad I didn't get, you didn't spring any Philadelphia Flyers trivia on me or anything like that. I appreciate it.
We could.
Irony here, we're hosting a trivia challenge in about an hour or so here. That's Gil Caps, everybody from the Golf Channel.